Life can turn upside down in the blink of an eye, and you don't see it coming, especially not when you're knee-deep in dirt, humming an old tune and tending to your garden. I'll never forget the sound of her voice, sharp and cold, slicing through the quiet of my Saturday morning. It was the first time anyone made me question whether this lammy land really belonged to me. One minute, I'm pulling weeds under a wide Texas sky. The next, I'm staring down a stranger who's ready to rip my home out from under me. It's the kind of story you'd scroll past online, thinking, no way that's real, until it's your story, and it's unfolding right in your driveway. I've been up early, as always, messing around on the old Carter place, a scrappy 10-acre patch of Texas scrub I inherited from my Uncle Ben a year ago. It wasn't much to look at tower-grown fields, a creaky barn, a couple of rusted-out trucks sinking into the earth. But to me, it was everything. Every fence post, every stubborn wildflower, every inch of that land felt like mine. I never really fit anywhere before I came here. Growing up, I was always the odd one out, drifting through life without an anchor. But out here, every tomato I planted, every weed I yanked, felt like I was stitching myself into the soil, making peace with my past. That morning, the sky was a perfect blue, birds were bickering over the feeder, and the world felt right until I heard tires crunching up the gravel drive. I squinted into the sun, watching a sleek black Mercedes weave through the potholes like it owned the road. The door swung open, and out stepped a woman who looked like she'd wandered off a corporate boardroom set. She had a sharp brunette bob, a tailored gray suit, and heels that sank into the dirt with every step. She had my beat-up pickup like it might bite her. Before I could even say hello, she stormed toward me, her face all business, and snapped, "Give me the keys to the gate. I'm taking this property. Now." Her voice had the kind of edge you'd use to scold a waiter for a cold steak, except she wasn't after a refund, she was after my home. I couldn't help it. I chuckled, thinking this had to be some kind of joke. "Ma'am," I said, keeping my tone light, but standing a little taller, "I don't know who you are, but you're on my land. Maybe you've got the wrong address." She didn't even blink, just pursed her lips and shot back, "Don't play dumb. I bought this ranch last week. I have a contract signed and notarized by Lauren Mitchell. Hand over the keys, or I'm calling the cops for trespassing." My stomach dropped, not out of fear, but because I could tell she wasn't bluffing. This woman, let's call her Diane for privacy's sake, believed every word she was saying. "Look, Diane," I said, forcing calm into my voice, "I've owned this place for over a year. It came from my uncle. There's no sale, no deal. Whoever took your money, it wasn't me." She didn't budge, just squared her shoulders and hissed, "You're lying. I wired you la $250,000. Lauren Mitchell said she was your agent. Give me the keys, or I'll have you arrested." For a split second, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. But the way she glared at me, like I was some squatter in her kingdom, lit a fire in my chest. I took a deep breath, counted to 3, and said, "You know what? Let's call the police. About every deed, every paper. You're not the first person to get scammed in Texas, but you're definitely the boldest." She didn't hesitate. Her fingers flew across her phone, dialing 911 like she was declaring war. She turned away, barking into the receiver, throwing me looks like she thought I'd bolt. I pulled out my own phone, called 911 myself, and calmly explained that a stranger was on my property, claiming it as hers. The dispatcher sounded like she was holding back a laugh. 10 minutes later, sirens wailed up the road, and 2 sheriff's cruisers kicked up dust as they pulled in. Out stepped Deputy Coleman, a grizzled Texan with a mustache that meant business, and Deputy Ruiz, a rookie trying to look tougher than he felt. Coleman nodded at me. "Morning, Jake." "Trouble." Before I could answer, Diane jumped in front of him, while VYing her phone like a weapon. "Arrest this man. He's refusing to leave my property. I have a contract at home. I paid for this land." Coleman raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, got any proof on you?" "Paperwork." Diane faltered, clutching her designer bag. It's with my lawyer, but I can show you the wire transfer." Ruiz took her aside, asking for details, while I jogged to the porch and grabbed my folder, every will, deed, tax bill, even a faded photo of Uncle Ben and me on his old tractor when I was a kid. I spread the documents on the hood of my truck, my hands shaking just a bit. Coleman flipped through them, reading the deed twice, then looked up. "This checks out, Jake. Mind if we call your realtor to confirm?" I gave him a number for Sarah Thompson, who'd handled Uncle Ben's estate, and stepped back. Meanwhile, Diane was unraveling, ranting about fraud, lawsuits, and how she'd have me in cuffs. Coleman just scribbled notes, waiting for Sarah to pick up. When she did, she backed me up 100 Fantram. The property was never listed, never for sale, and Lauren Mitchell? A ghost. That's when it hit me. Diane had been scammed hard by someone with a fake name and a forged notary stamp. I felt a pang of sympathy until she spun on me, red-faced and screaming. "You're in on this. You set me up. I'll sue you for every penny you've got." Ruiz stepped between us, calm but firm, and Coleman sighed. "Ma'am, you need to settle down. By law, you're trespassing. We'll have to escort you off." Diane lost it. She yelled about her brother being a senator, about calling the governor, about making me regret I was born. It was desperate, unhinged, and a little terrifying. I stood there, heart pounding, feeling the weight of it all. This land was my sanctuary, my tie to Uncle Ben, and now it felt fragile, like it could slip away. Coleman had no choice. He radioed for backup, and when Diane refused to leave, he read her rights, cuffed her gently, and guided her to the cruiser. Her voice echoed as they drove off, promising revenge, lawsuits, the works. When the dust settled, I was alone, staring at the empty driveway. I should have felt like I'd won, but I just felt drained, shaky, and fiercely protective not just of the land, but of every memory tied to it. The rest of the day was a haze. I called Sarah again, asked her to help the police track down this Lauren Mitchell. I tried to imagine Diane's side losing a fortune, being humiliated, but she'd crossed a line, and the law was clear. A week later, she filed a claim for emotional distress, which went nowhere. The sheriff kept an eye on my place for a while, just in case. Slowly, life crept back to normal. I fixed the gate, planted some bluebonnets, and even restrung Uncle Ben's old porch swing. But every now and then, when I hear a car coming up the drive, my pulse spikes. Will it ever feel as safe as it did before? Some nights, I sit on the porch, listening to the cicadas, watching the sun melt over the fields. I wonder, was it just luck that kept this land mine, or something bigger? Maybe it's both. Maybe it's about standing your ground, staring down crazy, and refusing a hand over what's yours. But I'm curious, what would you have done in my shoes? Would you have stayed calm, or would you have lost it on Diane? Should I have shown her more sympathy, knowing she was scammed, or was she too far gone? And here's the big one. If someone showed up at your door, claiming your home, would you fight like hell or walk away? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if this got your blood pumping, and subscribe if you got more stories where this came from.